Yeah, I think it's very normal for us to really think about the surface desire, but every surface desire, in my opinion, is run by a more, a deeper desire. And so the surface desire in this case is the coloring books. Like we just want coloring books, but deep down what it is we want the stress relief, or we want the therapeutic aspect of it. It's not a fault, or it's not anything wrong. It's just something that I've noticed that if you can kind of dig deeper and find more of an emotional kind of core desire, then the thing really becomes almost irrelevant. Let's try and pick up where we left off. So we were talking about the effective marketing strategies real quickly, a couple of examples that were given. Working with influencers, email marketing, focusing on content, and then user-generated content, which is awesome, and then virtual coloring workshops or webinars. For our perfect audience, their preferred content types are video tutorials on coloring techniques. They want to see testimonials from mental health professionals. They want to see before and after stress level comparisons, research, data, and or mindfulness tips integrated with coloring activities. Again, just a great advice on, okay, I know who they are. I know kind of what they want emotionally, or deep down, the core thing that they want. I know where they like to hang out and spend their time, but what kind of stuff should I put out there? And that's where this kind of falls in with that. So video tutorial is big. Testimonials from mental health professionals. Maybe you have a podcast, or you invite an expert and just question him, and then that turns into a video, and that kind of content seems to do well, whether written or video or audio. Before and after comparisons. You can use all sorts of great free resources like ChatGPT and all these other AIs to literally just look up any type of research that was done, and then you can use that content as a post or as an article and that kind of stuff. And we know that our perfect audience will react well to that. Now, some of their fears and challenges are time constraints in their daily life. We talked about work-life balance is something that they seek because they are most likely busy professionals with families and stuff like that. So it would make sense that before they consider purchasing therapeutic coloring books or pages, that one of their obstacles or challenges or fears might be that, I'm not going to have enough time to fill these out, right? Or they might be skeptical about the effectiveness of coloring for stress relief, or they might be perfectionists, a little bit like me. So their perfectionism is hindering their creative expression. I am of the belief that if you can describe somebody's problem to them better than they can to themselves, they're automatically going to assume that you have the solution, and they're automatically going to trust you a little bit more and like you a little bit better. The example of, if I said, I have a fear of spiders, I'm afraid of spiders, and you ask me why, and I say, I don't know, I'm just afraid of spiders. And then if you were to respond by saying, well, maybe, it's because they have 8 legs, and most animals, have 4 legs, and so they're in a unique category, and so they're so misunderstood, and maybe that's what you're afraid of. Like, if you were to say something like that to me, because you've explained it to myself better than I did, I'm going to assume that, you know more, that I can trust you. I might like you more because you were able to kind of solve that problem for me. So that's why this specific area of of this report, the fears and challenges, to me is probably one of the most important parts, because if we can address this stuff in our content or on a sales call, or if we can get ahead of it and help them with this, they're gonna know and like us and trust us, and therefore probably turn into customers that much easier. As far as using solo ads or email blasts, the effectiveness with this specific audience, it's moderately effective, especially when paired with limited time offers. We talked about that's one of the email content that they like to have is limited time offers. They are open to receiving promotional emails 1 to 2 per week. So let's say you started generating leads, you know that they are open to receiving that type of content. If you're going to implement follow-up email marketing, right? You know what type of content and how much, and that would do well for them. Again, preferred email content. So if you were to email them, they want to hear about the new coloring book releases. They want exclusive discounts or bundle offers. They want tips for integrating coloring into daily routines. They'd love to see featured artists, and then community coloring challenges. All, again, marketing ideas, how you can, build that relationship with them, stay relevant to them by giving them what they want. And then their learning and awareness preferences, social media discovery, again, Instagram and Pinterest, word of mouth, wellness podcast mentions, and online art therapy forums. Again, just places where you can be so that you stay in front of them. And it lightly touches on all 4 phases that I had mentioned previously, right? It helps you figure out your brand positioning. It helps you figure out who specifically you would need to target. It helps you specify the type of offer that you could create that would resonate well with them, because we saw their psychographics, we saw their fears and concerns. And so if we can integrate that in whatever the offer or the product or the service is, then it's going to make it that much more, irresistible. And it also shows us where they like to spend their time, so that in phase 4, how do we let them know that we have this thing for them? Well, we know that in this case, it's Instagram, it's Pinterest. We know what to say to get their attention. You know what I mean? It kind of all rolls into one. And then further on, this part here is basically more so about the market itself and the opportunities that are there. So we touched on the perfect audience, and in this bottom part we're talking about how, so for example, in this case, the adult coloring book market is projected to grow. It has an annual growth rate of about 10%, which is massive. So every year it gets 10% bigger and bigger and bigger, so that it's trending upwards, which is good. They touch on the demographics and psychographics here. Again, we've already kind of covered that, but a little bit more detailed information. Again, the purchasing behaviors and channels, the average order value, $30 to $50, distribution sales platform. So here's where they talk about the Amazon KDP, and also Ingram Spark, which is, I'm assuming, is a platform. So this might be another avenue for you. It looks like it sounds similar to the Amazon KDP, but again, it's just another potential distribution channel for you and for your services. I've never heard of this platform, but I'd be interested to look into it. It also does talk about digital platforms like Etsy and Gumroad, right? If you wanted to sell digital single copies and stuff like that, these are 2 other distribution channels for you. Kind of talks about the key opportunities here to focus on. So number 1 is focus on the mental health and wellness aspect of it. Number 2 is focus on the creative expression side of things. People who might not consider themselves artists, well, here's an easy and fun way that they can kind of dip their toe in that artistic world without needing to, be super ultra creative, because basically you're coloring in within the lines, right? So, but it's still a creative endeavor. Digital detox, as people seek to reduce their screen time, coloring books are a tangible analog alternative. You can do it just about anywhere, anytime. Gift-giving potential, right? You can talk about the gift-giving potential. Good way of getting the rest of the family involved, because it's such a simple thing. If I'm buying a digital copy online, I just print an extra copy, and then I can do it with the family or the friends or whatever, and all of a sudden it turns into a group therapy maybe, right? So just, this was another one of these key opportunities. So perhaps something to keep in mind, as you're growing your business and growing your company. I think that now that who our perfect audience is, and we really have a, 6-dimensional view of them, not just from the demographics perspective. I think the next logical step, in my opinion, is, all right, then let's create something that is specific to them. And then the step after that will be, all right, now let's let them know that we've done this thing. And I like to tell people that just because you are creating an offer or a product or a service for a very specific audience like this one here, it doesn't mean that no one else will purchase. It just means that we're getting really, really, really focused because we want to start off with as much positive momentum as possible. And these are really the lowest hanging fruit. That these will probably be your very first customers, and they'll happen rather quickly. And then with that, you can, gather testimonials. And then that just helps you sell to everybody else, because there's now all of a sudden your stuff is more there's more credibility, there's more social proof, there's more testimony.